Hello, this is Justice Jennifer Brunner of the Ohio Supreme Court, and you're here for Achieving Justice. This is a video series where I interview judges and judicial candidates up and down the ballot, while I also run for Chief Justice of the Ohio Supreme Court. So today it is my honor and pleasure to have Judge Deborah M. Turner from the Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court. Welcome, Judge Turner.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here, and thank you for the invitation.
Oh, my pleasure. So I've been talking a little bit with Judge Turner just about her so interesting background and how she came to be a judge on the court. So I want to start, though, first with the story of what even led her to the law. I hadn't heard her story, and I know she's probably told it in Cuyahoga County, but it's a story so worth hearing. Do you mind telling us that again?
Absolutely not. So my mom and dad divorced when my sister and I were very young. I had an older sister. And so my mom raised my sister and I as a single mom in the Morris Black Projects of Cleveland. And she later was able to start a restaurant. It was a barbecue restaurant. It was located on 55th and between Woodland and Outhwaite. And an incident occurred in that restaurant wherein my mom was subsequently arrested. And she was held in a jail at 21st and Payne. There was no justice center at that time. And my grandmother, maternal grandmother, hired a gentleman to represent my mom, and his name was Stanley Tolliver. And he was known as the street lawyer. He was known as the person who you needed if you had a situation with the courts. He came one Saturday morning and he brought my sister and I down to the courthouse, and there was a little cafe directly across the street. He had us have breakfast, and then he went across the street to visit with our mom. And then he came back and he took us out on the corner and he told us to look up. He said, you'll see a hand dangling between the bars, and that would be your mom. She can see you, but you can't see her. You can only see her arm. And that is a vision that I hold even to this day. And he said to us, if the justice system works, I'm bringing your mom home. And I can't tell you what length of time it was. It was short. I just remember a Sunday, my mom came home. My sister and I jumped into bed with her, held on to it like there was no tomorrow. And I saw someone who looked like me, who had brought my mom home to my sister and I. And I said I wanted to be a lawyer at that time because I wanted to help people, just like Stanley Tolliver had helped my family.
I love that story. But you actually started out as a teacher, didn't you?
I did, because I couldn't afford law school. I struggled to afford undergrad school, working many jobs to save the money in order to attend. And so I worked as a maid at the Ramada Inn. I scrubbed some toilets and made some beds. I worked as a loader in UPS trucks to make those walls so that packages don't move. And I worked as a clerk at the maid company and saved money so that I can attend school for a couple of quarters, and then I had to drop out. And so eventually it took me 7 years to obtain my undergraduate degree, and I still couldn't afford law school. So I taught. I kind of fell into teaching, loved it, and I stayed for 20 years. Taught law, history, government, civics when they had it in the schools, which we need to bring it back. Coached the mock trial teams. We were fourth in the state in 1994. And just loved it immensely.
Oh, absolutely. And so you were I think you told me you were in Cleveland Heights High School and 1 year in Warrensville Heights, correct?
That is correct. I spent 20 years as an educator, 19 in Cleveland Heights and 1 year in Warrensville. And both of them are Tigers. So when I say Tiger Nation, I can say it for both of them and not offend anyone.
Oh, definitely, definitely. So what you've got a lot of years working in and around the court systems in Cuyahoga County. What first brought you away from teaching and into the court system?
Well, when I obtained my law degree, I was like 46 years old. And so it was like, okay, what do you do? I can't start over. And so I just continued to teach. And then a friend of mine, who we actually go back to high school, and I'm a graduate of Cleveland, it was called the Cleveland Public Schools then, John Adams High School. And
I've
she
been
was
there.
running for judge. She was running for judge. A friend of mine from high school was running for judge. I saw her picture in the paper. I called her. I said, I want to help out on your campaign. I did so. And she won in 1998. And when she won, she said to me, I need some help when I take this position. And I'd like for you to come and help me with that law degree, come out of the classroom. And so I took a leap of faith, put 20 years of education behind me, and I went with her. She was the first African-American female to be elected to the Cuyahoga County Juvenile Court, and her name was Janet E. Burney. And I was her baby, the magistrate.
Wow. And that began. So you, I think you talked to me about you did work in Bedford, and did you say Warrensville Heights too, again?
Well, Bedford Municipal Court has 13 communities. And two of those communities, actually the four largest communities, are Bedford, Bedford Heights, Solon, and the city of Bedford, of the 13. And so I later was, I was hired by the city of Bedford Heights Council as their law director and their prosecutor, and that was in like 2008. And then also later in that year, I was hired by then Mayor Marcia Fudge, who is now our Secretary of HUD. I was hired by her as the prosecutor for the city of Warrensville, which she served as the mayor at that particular time. And so I served in that capacity as well.
Wow. And so now you're running for re-election to judge. What do you like the best about being a common pleas court judge?
Well, first of all, I just want to clarify, I'm not running for re-election because I'm not running for my seat. But I am on the ballot, and I love being a judge. I love being it because I think the breadth of my experience distinguishes me from other individuals, you know, being a teacher, being a prosecutor, having a private practice, family law. I was a guardian ad litem. And I think all of those things come together when I'm on the bench. And I think they have allowed me to serve the people in a different way. Of the residents of Cuyahoga County, I think, have benefited from that. I love the challenge. It is a challenge. But it's also very rewarding to be able to make a difference in the lives of individuals. And what I always hope to do is to restore some of the faith that we'd like for individuals to have in the system. And hopefully they have that when they come to my courtroom and leave my courtroom. What I hope is that individuals who come in leave differently than when they came in, whether you're a victim or your defendant, because I believe that I have a responsibility to pour something into people, because I find individuals who come before the court, they're broken, they're shattered. And all of these pieces are so scattered that if I can help to pick up some of those and help you to begin to reconnect them, then I feel like I've done something for both individuals who come before the court.
It sounds like public service to me. That's wonderful. And I was telling you earlier, it seems like when you are giving the jury their instructions, you feel like a teacher. Do you feel that way too?
Absolutely. And they tell me that because I also give, not only doing jury instructions, I tell them what the next phase is, what they can expect. And they've always told me they appreciate that. And yes, absolutely. I think my years as an educator have not left me. They will never leave me, and they served me well.
Yeah. And I found after a tough verdict, you become a little bit of a consoler too, because sometimes the members of the jury are a little shaken up. Do you notice that?
I have found that as well. And I always go and talk to the jurors afterwards to give them an opportunity to kind of vent and ask any questions about the process. And I've always found them to say that they're thankful that they had the opportunity because they know more now than they knew before, and it's not television.
Right. They see how long and drawn out some of that evidence can be.
Yes. In detail,
Yes.
pay attention. And also as an educator, I'm a good listener. And I think you have to be a good listener. And that has come from not only being a parent, but also being an educator.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I felt like juries really were conscientious and were trying so hard to do a good job because they felt the enormity of the decision that each one of them had to make.
I find that as well. And I think the average Jane or John Doe, before having jury service, they really don't get all of that. But once you're in that box and once you're in that jury room, you begin to see how it all comes together and the weight that's placed upon them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's why sometimes you have to kind of console afterward because they're really worried if they made a good decision or not. And of course, a judge can't try to influence them one way or the other, but if they can at least feel like that they had done their job, and it's important.
And I find to be very conscientious about that. I know some judges don't permit note taking, but I do. I provide them with a pad and I allow them to take notes. Yes.
Yeah, I because everybody has a different learning style. And so, and there's an instruction that we give that just because someone took notes and someone didn't doesn't mean that the note taker's memory was any better. So it works out. But you're also one of the pioneers in the use of the uniform sentencing entry for the statewide criminal sentencing database. What's that like so far?
Well, they're gathering the information, and I think it's very important because I think it's important that the courts are transparent. I think that if we want to have individuals trust the system, then we have to show them how the system works in a manner in which they can see it for themselves. And once we evaluate it and we find that we have some issues over here to the right or over here to the left, then what we begin to do is we begin to work on what we need to do to fix it if it needs to be fixed. And I think the willingness to be able to do that is tantamount to individuals believing that the criminal justice system can work and it can work for everyone.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for being willing to do this, because I know it's not easy in the beginning, while some of the IT professionals are actually learning from the judges about what's going to work the best mechanically to be able to collect this data. So we appreciate it. I want to also ask you, you've raised a family of what, you and your husband of 4 children?
Yes.
That's wonderful. With everything else you've done, there are a lot of women and men who will really look up to you for that.
And we've been together. My husband and I've been together since we were 16 years old, and we married at 18. And we've been together ever since.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yes, that's a lot of growing and hard work, but very rewarding work.
Yes.
So if I were to ask you, what is it you would want people to know about Judge Turner that's special to you?
I think I want people to know that I care, that I'm here because I care about the residents of Cuyahoga County. I think that it's important for them to know that when they come before this court, that they're not just a number as a case number, that the victims matter and the defendants matter, and that I see them, I truly see them beyond what the charges may be. And that's why I try to make sure that individuals, I communicate that to them. And I think they do. I had a mother in court with me last week, and I was sending her son to prison, but he had been on my docket for about 2 years, and I tried to work with him. And she asked to speak, and she read a letter into the record. And she said to me, I remember when I first came here, and you said, you listened to my son, and you said, help is on the way. And you provided him with that help. However, there were just some things that fell apart because you can't want it more for the person than they want it for themselves. And she said, I know he has to go to prison. She said, but I trust you. How often do you hear an individual come before a court and say they trust the judge? To me, that was enormous.
Oh, that's the goal. That's the goal. We work better when we have people's confidence and trust. And this is a mother telling you this about her son, who you're just about ready to send off to prison. Thank you for what you do, Judge Turner. Wonderful.
Thank you.
This has been a delightful interview today, and I'm so happy you could join me. And I'm so happy everyone could hear from Judge Deborah P. Turner. She is the Common Pleas Court Judge, one of 34 in Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court General Division, and she will be on the ballot this fall, November the 8th. Thank you so much, Judge Turner, and really enjoyed our time today.
And thank you so much again, and thank you for the invitation.
My pleasure. This has been Achieving Justice with Justice Jennifer Brunner of the Ohio Supreme Court with Judge Deborah P. Turner. Thank you so much.